Welcome back to Wrestling World. Today we got some big developments to dive into with a new Wyatt Family storyline and some issues with Mickie James, so let's get into it. We just saw what seems to be a huge development in Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss's story. We know that WWE teased The Fiend vs. Roman Reigns a few weeks back, but obviously that's not happening anytime soon. That was just a small teaser for a feud that we can see way down the line around next year's WrestleMania. So hopefully you didn't get your hopes up to see that matchup right away. Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt are on a collision course and will meet again down the line. But for the time being, they are doing completely separate things. Bray Wyatt has now turned his attention to Kevin Owens. This has fans talking and speculating. Based off the events from Smackdown, it seems like The Fiend not only wanted to defeat Kevin Owens, but it seemed like The Fiend and Alexa Bliss are recruiting him to join the family. That concept really didn't hit me until WWE really pushed the idea to us on Smackdown. First major clue is Alexa Bliss and Kevin Owens' short segment backstage. We see Owens getting ready for the match, and Alexa Bliss walks up to him and says, "Let him in." Alexa wasn't saying that just because it's Bray Wyatt's catchphrase. It seems like Alexa Bliss had a lot of meaning behind those three words. She was basically telling Kevin Owens to let The Fiend take over, let Bray Wyatt cleanse him the same way he cleansed Alexa. To just stop fighting it and let The Fiend basically do to him what he did to Alexa Bliss. That's how I understood the short interaction between Alexa Bliss and Kevin Owens. The idea gets thrown to us again during the closing moments of Smackdown. The Fiend picks up the win over Kevin Owens and meets Alexa Bliss at the ramp. They both glance over at Kevin Owens and the camera cuts to Kevin Owens laid out in the ring. And that look by Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss alone just told the entire story. It looks like they aren't done with Kevin Owens quite yet, and they legitimately wanted him to join them. This is being recorded before the second night of the WWE Draft, so I don't know where Bliss, Wyatt, and Owens are getting drafted to yet, but I would expect them all to stay on the same show together. There's rumors that Bray Wyatt is heading back to Raw, so Alexa and Owens will likely follow him as well to continue this story. You also have to remember that this was The Fiend's first match on either SmackDown or Raw. He previously only competed at big events. So the fact that WWE had him compete on SmackDown for the first time ever tells me that it was done for the story and there's a big purpose behind it. That purpose behind the match being that Kevin Owens will fall victim to The Fiend's effect and possibly suffer the same fate as Alexa Bliss. It was a bit hectic that you have to change everyone that encounters The Fiend, but that's just who the character is and what makes him so special. Everyone he encounters has to change in some way. Kevin Owens has now had non-stop interactions with The Fiend and Bray Wyatt for multiple weeks in a row, so following that same rule of character, Kevin Owens has to change in some way now. Owens' change could possibly end with him joining the new Wyatt family. I honestly love the idea of Kevin Owens joining the group. I know there's a lot of fans out there that don't like the idea of superstars joining The Fiend because you're basically erasing their previous identity and personas, and that's true. I agree with that. But Kevin Owens hasn't done much in a long time. He's kind of been lost in the shuffle over the last few months, so why not have him join The Fiend and give him something big to do? This will really establish the new Wyatt family in a major way. The new Wyatt family has been a popular discussion all year long. Earlier this year, I mentioned how 4 members would be perfect for the new Wyatt family. The Fiend gets his male partner in the group, which we now know is Kevin Owens. And Alexa Bliss gets another woman to join the group as well to be her partner. That woman could be someone like Nikki Cross, someone that Alexa still has feelings for, and maybe Alexa convinces The Fiend to turn Nikki Cross too. Now you have a scary group forming right there. Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt as your leads, Kevin Owens and Nikki Cross as your followers. I absolutely love that idea. This group could be right up there with Retribution and the Hurt Business. We're seeing more 4 or 5 member groups in WWE, so why not add another group with this new Wyatt family? This story continues to be amazing. We'll see how they're able to convert Kevin Owens, and if they will target another woman after they're done with Owens. But this story gets 5 stars for me right now, just based off the potential alone, but we'll see how it unfolds. Mickie James is one of the veterans in the women's locker room, but she's proved time and time again that she will still compete with the best young talent on the roster. Mickie James was previously very vocal about how she wasn't being used. This led to her returning and getting a title match against Asuka. But after a weird finish to that match, Mickie James disappeared again. Mickie James recently revealed the surprising news that she suffered a broken nose and will miss several weeks. Mickie James was also furious with the fact that she went undrafted during the first night of draft. I wanted to talk about this because I think Mickie James makes a good point and really exposes a flaw to the WWE Draft. Mickie had this to say. A little WWE free agent fun fact for you. Mickie James has more career and title wins than Humberto Carrillo, Murphy, Drew Gulak, Tucker, Lucha House Party, and Shorty G combined. Enjoy your day. No offense, fellas. You seem like nice folks. Just the facts. I'm a free agent. Free agent Mickie. So this is true, and it makes you really question the logic behind the WWE Draft. Obviously, inactive talent like John Cena, Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and others aren't part of the draft. But if they were a part of it, you would sign those big names right away, based off their history and who they are alone. So it makes you wonder why guys like Shorty G, Murphy, and the Lucha Party are all being drafted and selected to be on a brand in front of a future Hall of Famer like Mickie James and all of her accomplishments. Those guys haven't accomplished anything and they get a better draft spot than Mickie James? It really makes you question the WWE Draft. It honestly feels disrespectful to Mickie James and her legacy. Are we really supposed to believe that USA Network and Fox wants Shorty G instead of the multiple-time women's champion who has had a 20-year-long career? So I thought Mickie James really pointed out a big flaw there in the WWE draft system, and I thought it was really interesting to discuss. It's understandable that the champions and the younger talent with a lot of potential will always be selected early on in the WWE drafts. But for a lot of these names to be selected before the legendary Mickie James really makes you wonder what's going on here. Regardless of her age or what year of her career she's in, Mickie James should have been selected a bit more early based on her Hall of Fame career so far. The WWE Draft has always been enjoyable to me. I love the concept of superstars switching brands and freshening up the rosters with different talent every year. But where you get selected at the draft is always a hot topic, especially in Mickie James's case, where she was basically ignored for the first night of the draft. Hopefully she will be selected because going undrafted is another level of disrespect. Even though free agent storylines can be very interesting, such as Heath Slater's free agency storyline from a few years ago, I just don't think it's a good look for future Hall of Fame superstars to be going undrafted. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Do you like the hints that WWE is giving us about a potential new Wyatt family? What are your thoughts on Mickie James's comments on the WWE Draft as well? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.